To be, right now we have an identity as blacks that's victim focused. We're victims, which basically is designed to tap into white guilt and get them to give us all kinds of little, basically crumbs. And we're just sort of locked into that.
If you're going to go back, the first that you're so desperate for grievances that you have to go back into history to find them, that really says something. What's painful to me is how few people there are today who bother to check out the facts. In many cases, just the smallest effort at checking out the facts would cause so many of these things to fall apart. And we have a whole...
Eagle, a black newspaper, writes an article and asks the NAACP and all organizations to look into this matter and see that Mrs. and Mr. Bruce are given a fair chance. Mr. Burton Cerruti accepts the call to action and immediately goes down to the Bruce Lodge to evaluate and investigate the entire situation. Just so you know, at this time, there is no higher profile attorney than Mr. Cerruti. He is the founder of the LA chapter NAACP, along with the founders on the California Eagle. They're being told that this is a dream case for a city that's run by the KKK to run only black people out of their town using eminent domain is a slam dunk case and a huge payday. So on July 11th, 1924, after spending a week investigating and analyzing the allegations of racial discrimination towards Willa and Charles Bruce and their resort, and looking at over the ordinances that Willa and Charles say are being used to drive them out of town, Burton Cerruti posts his legal opinion in the California Eagle newspaper. This is major news. The saddest part about this is that Hidley from Manhattan Beach, the Beach Reporter, the Easy Reader, the Daily Breeze, the LA Times, every journalist out there only prints 2 sentences of Cerruti's legal opinion. His entire opinion, they literally take 2 sentences and they leave out the most critical parts. And it's, all right, so let's read the legal opinion, it's not long, of Cerruti and find out exactly what and Cerruti's thoughts are about the Bruce's legal case. These guys are extremely smart. The matter of Bruce's Beach. To the Board of Directors, LA Branch NAACP. In reference to the matter of Bruce's Beach, referred to this office for an opinion, permit me to advise that an investigation shows that Mrs. Bruce's property is not strictly beach property. Mr. Peck being the owner of the land intervening between Mrs. Bruce and the water. So far as has been ascertained, 2 ordinances passed by the City Council of Manhattan Beach. One, condemning the property under consideration for the park purposes, and the other zoning it for residential purposes and disallowing bathhouses and other businesses in that territory. These 2 ordinances conflict, but it is likely that the former will be abandoned and the latter sustained by the council. To be a party to the suit. She is willing to sell her property, and even if a suit be initiated, would sell at a fair price at any time and would abandon the suit at such time, referring to Mrs. Bruce. The Pacific Electric Railway track runs between the Bruce property and the waterfront. My opinion. Based on the foregoing premises, permit me to advise, 1, that the first ordinance might be defeated in a proper court action, but since it is likely that this ordinance will be abandoned, a suit is not necessary. Number 2, the second ordinance zoning the district for residential purposes is more formidable, and it is possible that we would not succeed in an action to declare it invalid, Since bathers from the Bruce property would necessarily cross the railroad track to reach the water, it is likely that the danger inserted in crossing and recrossing these tracks would be advanced as the ground for the enactment of the ordinance. All right, so this was Councilman Hidley's and Bradford's big thing, that this ordinance was specifically put in action by racist councilmen to drive out the Bruce's business, to put them extinct. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was because the Bruce family was having parties with 1,500 people, 800 people, 400 people. They were having sleepovers for 60 kids. When there was a train, the train goes back and forth there 8 times a day. And so you have people drinking and stuff, crossing the railroad tracks. You don't think something's going to happen? Someone's going to get killed? Maybe 2 people at a time might get killed? Here's some examples during the exact same time in Redondo Beach. A report of a man being run down and killed by a train. Entire article discussing the amount of railroad accidents, people getting hit by trains. 3-year-old child dead, parents injured. Another guy hit and killed by train. 13-year-old kid derails a train. But Tony, come on. Han, Bradford, the female council person, they can't be lying to us. What they're telling us is that this was a racist ordinance towards the Bruces so they could never open another beach house again in the city of Manhattan Beach. No, guys, this is not true at all. The city is saying, look, Bruces, you can take your money, you can open another bathhouse. We don't care. Just as long, make sure it is west of the train tracks. Well, Tony, that probably made it impossible, right? No, let me give you some examples. So the bathhouse opened in 1924. They were west of the tracks, underneath the fishing pier. The bathhouse at Old Iron Pier is west of the railroad tracks. They were able to follow the rules. We have the Manhattan Beach Pavilion and Marine, circa 1924. They were open west of the railroad tracks. They followed the rules. Hermosa Beach with the same laws. Their bathhouse, circa 1924. They opened west of the railroad tracks, right on the beach. So everyone, I want you to use common sense here. I want you to look at this ordinance and tell me, take off your racist, everyone's a racist hat. Tell me, is this an ordinance so that they could disallow the Bruces from opening another beach house? Or was this ordinance created to keep the residents of Manhattan Beach safe that would visit a bathhouse that would be east of the railroad tracks? Do you think there might have been a danger? Do you think the city council made this ordinance directed at the Bruces? Or again, was it to keep the residents of Manhattan Beach safe? So the question is, which makes more sense? Number one, Han, Bradford, and Hildy's argument that the ordinance was racist to keep one black family from reopening their black business. Or would the answer be number two, Tony's argument? The ordinance was to keep its residents safe from trains. Okay, so before answering that question, take this one last piece of information into consideration. So the Bruces and the Slaughter family have a dual party. The Bruces are having kind of like a going away celebration. And they're also having a party because the city of Manhattan Beach approved the black family, Slaughter family, to take over the Bruces' business in their apartment and do the same thing the Bruces are doing. So it's like a grand opening for Bruce 2. All right.
Here's Charles Bruce with the Slaughters, who opened up their beach resort. Probably, discussing, hey, do this, do that. Your business will go great, whatever. Probably even said, hey, it's great that the city of Manhattan Beach supported you and allowing you to do this. Good luck. And what does the world famous attorney Cerruti say about this? Hey guys, this ordinance about keeping residents safe from getting hit by trains, this excuse would be considered reasonable and sufficient to sustain the ordinance. Reasonable. Mr. Cerruti knows he cannot fight this in court because any reasonable person would come to the exact same conclusion. So Cerruti writes, neither this association nor any person could bring an action to set aside either of these ordinances unless they had vested interest in the property involved. Such actions must be brought in the name of Mrs. Bruce or some other landowner there. Since Mrs. Bruce is unwilling to initiate an action and would not hesitate to drop one if a fair price is offered for her property, it is inadvisable for this association to undertake such a lawsuit. So for you people that value the English language, and especially what an attorney would write down on paper in a newspaper, let's go over just the important couple phrases here. 1. Mrs. Bruce is unwilling to initiate an action. What does this mean? This means that Mrs. Bruce is unwilling to sue the city or the city council or anybody else for race discrimination. Number 2, and would not hesitate to drop one if a fair price is offered for her property. Well, what does this mean, Tony? What this means is, hey guys, you can sue for race, that's totally fine, but if they offer me a fair amount for my property, I'm going to take it and go retire and be happy. So keep in mind, guys, this is the information that all the newspapers, Mr. Bradford, Hahn, Hildy, they all left out. All the news station, no one gives you this information. So here's the final couple sentences of this legal opinion, which I think are the most important. And why would all these people leave this last part out? Wouldn't you consider this pretty important? I do. Okay, here we go. Finally, your attorney regards the beach situation as a financial problem rather than a racial one. He is convinced that any persons, black or white, or association having sufficient money to finance the venture can obtain suitable beach frontage for a bathhouse and other business purposes. Respectfully submitted, E. Burton Cerruti, attorney for the Los Angeles branch of the NAACP. So in conclusion, Burton Cerruti are telling the entire black community through the California Eagle newspaper that the Bruce Beach situation is a financial problem rather than a racial one. And that convinced, it's pretty strong language, is convinced that any persons or associations having sufficient money to finance the venture can obtain suitable beach frontage for a bathhouse and other business ventures. There you have it, people. The legal opinion in its entirety. Everything that the media and the politicians and Dwayne Shepard has left out.